Hello! I'm so excited you're here. I'm so excited that you found us, and I am excited that you're gonna sew your favorite, or not so favorite, no judgments here, hen, an awesome chicken saddle. So, a couple things before we start. If you are using 2 layers of thinner fabric, you may want to use a thicker interfacing, fusible or otherwise. Either is fine. If you are using this for protection for your hens, you're going to want it to be a little bit thick. So if you have an old pair of jeans or an old coat or anything that's kind of thicker or sturdier, canvas is wonderful. Something that will truly protect that hen's back. You're going to want that in there if you're using it for protection. Now, I don't have any roosters, so the protection isn't as much of an issue for us, and we just like to sometimes decorate our hens a little bit, let them have a little fun, dress them up so they're cute. We just enjoy our chickens, and sometimes we enjoy adding a little bit of flair. So I think those are all the notes. We are using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I have made these saddles in cotton lycra, just 2 layers of cotton lycra, or made them thicker with, like I was talking about, some denim, some canvas. You will also need 1/4 inch elastic. You could use 3/8 inch, but it'll be a little more challenging to get through the casing because the casing is designed for 1/4 inch. But again, this is about function. It doesn't need to be perfect. If you want to decorate your chicken saddle, you can put bows or all sorts of really fun things on it when we're done. But let's go ahead and get into sewing it. So our first steps are just going to be to collect our materials. You can use scissors or a rotary cutter to cut out your pieces. This is what your pattern piece is going to look like. It's just a simple paper. If it's on one 8.5 by 11 piece, so you only have to print one piece. Super easy. I have already cut out my pieces here. I used a sweatshirt fleece for this because, again, my chickens don't need protection from roosters. They just, we just enjoy having matching outfits. So, you know, if that's why you're making it, you don't need to worry about any sort of extra durable fabric. If I was making this for a chicken that needed protection, I would go ahead and cut out a piece of fusible interfacing that would be 1/4 inch smaller than this. So you could print another one, or you could just trim it down to 1/4 inch smaller to keep your seams nice and bulk free. So you have 2 pieces. You're going to need 2 of these main pieces. And then we have a 10-inch piece of elastic, 1/4 inch braided elastic. If you have a larger chicken, you may need to cut it at 11 inches. If you have a bantam chicken, this pattern may need to be adjusted a little bit because it is for a traditional size chicken. But we have this 1/4 inch of elastic, and we are going to go ahead and secure it. So the first step is turning this over, and we are going to take our elastic. Now this does have a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I think I've said that. I may say it 5 more times. We're going to go ahead and clip it just inside the seam allowance because we don't want it to be inside of the seam allowance. We want it to be outside so that it can move freely. So we're going to clip it just like that, and then we're going to take our other piece and place them right sides facing, just like this. And then preserving that elastic spot, I just put a little finger right there. I'm going to move the clip and transfer it so that we have all 3 layers secured together. And then I'm going to place a couple more clips all the way around, just to make sure everything stays in place. If you are using a woven, there will be a couple more steps, not to this necessarily, but as we go forward, and I will make sure that I mention them as we go. I'm using knit and I'm using my serger to complete this project. If you were to be using a woven and you were going to be using your sewing machine, after we go ahead and sew that, you're going to want to clip all of your curves just to make sure that you can have nice corners and nice smooth curves. But I am using a knit sweatshirt fleece and I'm using my serger to make this, so I don't need to be doing any of that, which is wonderful. If you do, I'll make sure I cover that when we get there. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this and then we will come back for our next steps. So we have gone ahead and sewn. So where I sewed and where you will need to sew is right here on the little curves that will go around our wings and then all the way down the bottom of the saddle, all the way around that big curve. If I was using my sewing machine, now is the time that I would come around here and clip all of these curves so that it curves really nicely. You want to clip all of these too. And I would want to cut these corners off, not through the thread, but right by the thread so that our corners can be nice and sharp. Because I used a serger, I might not have as nice sharp corners, but it's not something I'm overly concerned about. So now we're going to go ahead and turn this right side out. I like to use the elastic to kind of pull my corner out there. And again, I'm not going to have super sharp corners, but it's not something I'm worried about. We just kind of do these for fun. I know there are plenty of people who do use these and rely on their functionality to keep their chickens healthy. And in those cases, you definitely want to use a sturdier fabric and make sure you do what you need to do to protect your awesome hens. Okay, so we have this, right? This is what it's going to look like. The next step would be go ahead and press it. We're going to press all the way around just with an iron, just to make sure that our edges are nice and crisp, right? And then we will go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and top stitch exactly all the same places where we sewed. I'm just going to go through and top stitch them and make sure that the seam allowances are all cut. It will just help make sure that the saddle is extra sturdy and that it is durable for long-term use. All right, now that we have everything top stitched, we have our elastic here. So what we need to do is make a casing for our elastic. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see this better. All right, so our elastic is going to sit somewhere about here. So what we need to do is create a casing for it. Let me trim this really quickly. Okay, so you can finish this edge if you want, but it won't be sticking out at all. So what we're going to do is fold this down just 1/4 of an inch. Well, let me turn it. Now, if you do use two different fabrics that are like right sides, excuse my little finger quotes, right sides, right? Then you have a reversible chicken saddle, which is great. So just fold that down 1/4 of an inch, and then we're going to fold it down another about 3/8 of an inch. So it would be like this. Hang on, let me clip this in place so that I can show you here. Okay, so it will look like that. Mine is not super straight, but it's pretty straight. You know, sometimes details matter and sometimes function matters. So it depends on, in this case, what is more important, right? I'm going to zoom you back out here. For this, I need function to matter I don't necessarily need function to matter. But this is going to be a hidden part of this because I have the same fabric on both sides, so I'm not super worried about it being a perfectly straight casing. However, I did miss a step, so let's go back. Don't sew it yet. Okay, so what we need is the elastic in there. Fun little tip. So we'll put the elastic in and then we'll fold it over that 3/8 of an inch, and we will clip it down there again and clip it down there again. I'm going to zoom back in so you can see exactly what we have going on here. There you go. The elastic will now go through here and it will be free to move like that. So we're going to sew down here, and it's very important to not sew that elastic. So make sure that you keep the elastic out of your seam there or your top stitching. And as you can see, no raw edges are shown, so there won't be any fraying or anything like that. So nothing to worry about in regards to that. So you just want to make sure that you do that. We'll go ahead and top stitch it and we'll come back and show you the finished product. All right, so we have it stitched now. As you can see, this is the other side, and it's stitched right across there. It looks nice and straight. And then it's stitched right across here, and the elastic is still free moving, so we can easily adjust it for the chicken that it's going to be on. And let's see, this is what your finished chicken saddle or apron will look like. And it will be a nice little addition to your flock. I hope that you love the pattern. I hope that you all really enjoy this chicken saddle pattern, and that it keeps your flock safe, protected, and warm all winter and summer long. And for the question that I'm sure many people have, did I make my son a matching dress for this chicken saddle? And of course I did. I actually used the Silver Mist because I want him to have a nice long cozy winter dress for chicken herding this winter, and well, it's not winter yet, but this cold season, because truthfully we're in Ohio, winter will go through April. But chicken saddle, and I lengthened the Silver Mist pattern so it'll be a maxi chicken herding cloak. And there you have it. I hope that you make this and that you share your chickens and their saddles with us in our Facebook group, on Instagram, on TikTok, anywhere. And if you're not following us on any of those places, I'll put the links down below so that you can follow us. Have a great day.